Hello, this is Stacey Shiflett, pastor of Calvary Baptist Church in Dundalk, Maryland. I want to take just a few minutes and say thank you to the so many of you that have reached out with an email, a text message, or a letter, letting us know that you're praying for us, praying for our church. We've been going through some difficult times here for the last few months, and we're grateful to know that folks are praying for us. And we appreciate those of you that have expressed concern for Sarah and her family. I know she greatly appreciates the prayer as well. In case anybody hasn't heard, the scandal that broke here in our church back in May of last year concerning the former pastor and allegations of sexual misconduct with a 16-year-old girl that was in the Christian school here at the time. For the last 14 months, that investigation's been ongoing, in spite of the fact that many people disputed that, including Cameron, saying it wasn't, an investigation wasn't happening. I had pastors calling me saying there is no investigation. There was. I knew there was. And I would have never said there was if there wasn't. But the detectives were slow, and they were very deliberate and painstaking in their investigation, and submitted their findings to the assistant district attorney. The assistant district attorney reviewed the evidence and felt there was sufficient evidence to proceed, and passed it on to the district attorney here in Baltimore. And after about a month of reviewing that, issued a warrant for his arrest, and he came up and turned himself in and was charged with 2 misdemeanors and a felony. The interesting thing is there are still some preachers out there maintaining that this is all just false accusations, maintaining this is a witch hunt. This is all just people out to get a good man of God. And I just want to say, on the behalf of the thousands of Christians in this country that's watching this, you're out of your mind. If you're going to continue to defend and continue to prop up someone that not only has been accused of sexual misconduct of the most gross and nasty sort, but the multitude of other women that have come forward with allegations of inappropriate behavior and texting and flirting and just on, adulterous affairs. If you're going to continue to prop that up, I just want you to know that that people know what you are. They know how you are. It might have worked back a long time ago. It won't work anymore. And I just want to say that on behalf of the Christians, the remnant that still believe in integrity and character, and still believe in the Bible, and still believe in justice and judgment, that thanks be unto God, you and your cronies are a dying breed. It won't be much longer before the likes of you are no longer polluting our pulpits and no longer infiltrating the hearts and minds of our people. And I want you to know that some of us preachers are not scared of you. We're not afraid to say what we believe. We're not afraid to call out hypocrisy when we see it. We're not afraid to stand up against the cronyism. We're not afraid to call out and shine the light on the mob-like mentality that is infected the Independent Baptist movement for far too long. And also, I just want to let you know that even though a lot of preachers are not loud, they don't have a Facebook, they don't have a Twitter account, they don't have a YouTube channel, they don't have maybe the propensity to write a book. I just want you to know there are thousands of preachers out there that feel just like I do. Thousands of moms and dads and church members and deacons that are grateful that the tide is turning. There's a paradigm shift. No longer will the Independent Baptists allow themselves to be tainted by the few that just simply don't get it. Maybe you've got skeletons in your own closet. Maybe you've got your own scandals you're hoping to pray and never come out. Maybe you've got your own issues that you're dealing with. I don't know what your problem is, but you don't speak for us. You don't speak for me. You don't speak for my family. You don't speak for our church. The Independent Baptist has caught we're catching a lot of flack from the world. We're catching a lot of flack from other people. And I know we've got our issues, but most of the people that I know are good people. They love the Lord. They stand for what's right. They love the Bible. They love preaching. They want to pursue holiness and godliness. They want to raise godly children. They want to have good marriages. And believe it or not, we can do it without you. We don't need your Pope-like mentality telling us how to think, telling us what we can say, telling us when we can say it. We don't need you writing your articles and stand up on your soapbox and act like you're something you're not. Your days are over. You need to just sit down and be quiet and quit telling us to sit down and be quiet, because we're turning the tide. We're going to get our churches back to where our credibility is restored, where we've got a testimony in the community. Lost people will be willing to come to our churches because they know that we're not a bunch of two-faced hypocrites preaching one thing from the pulpit and doing something else behind the scenes. We're not going to grease the skids for our buddies. We're not going to stand up in the pulpit and preach against homosexuality and preach against fornication and preach against adultery and then go preach for a bunch of pedophiles and people that hide pedophiles and cover for them. The hypocrisy is appalling. And you're doing more damage to yourself and more damage to the cause of Christ. You're doing more damage to the Independent Baptist movement than I'll ever do. I'm just calling it like I see it. And what bothers me is how many preachers have reached out to me, that have emailed me, texted me, and called me and said, we support you. We thank God for you having the courage to say something. But unfortunately, many of these guys will not use their influence to make a difference. They won't use their platforms, their social media platforms, to speak out against this blatant hypocrisy. I have no desire to create a war. I have no desire to make something out of nothing. I've got a church to pastor. I got a family. I've got a wife. I've got children. I've got a city to reach for God. I don't have time for this mess. And I'm not going to war. That's not my agenda. That's not my desire. But I am going to shine the light on it. And I appreciate God giving me the grace and the strength to weather this storm. My family's weathered this storm. Our church is weathering this storm. I'm grateful for the newest developments with this case. I don't have any idea what's going to happen. I've been accused of being judge, jury, and executioner. That is absolutely not true. There's nothing judge, jury, and executioner about listening to a victim, hearing their story, and doing a little bit of internal review and investigating to find out if there's any truth to it. And let the facts lead where they are. But when you stand up and you say this person's innocent just because they said they were, without calling anybody, finding out anything that happened, you're making a fool out of yourself. And you're showing the whole country, you're showing everybody just how foolish you are. And you're stuck in the Stone Ages, because that ain't how we do it anymore. We're not doing it that way anymore. We're not sweeping it under the rug. We're not covering it up anymore. We're not going to prop it up with cute little memes and Bible verses and threatening text and emails and Twitters. We're not doing that anymore. That's not how it works. We're going to let it all come out, let it all be in the light. We're going to let the facts lead where they lead. And we're going to let God be God. If you want to identify with people that are soft on pedophilia and sexual abuse, if you want to befriend sexual predators, if you want to befriend adulterers and child molesters, knock yourself out. But stop acting like it's the thing that you should do. We're not doing it that way anymore. We're not doing it that way anymore. And I just want to say that through this whole disaster, this whole mess with television stations camped out in our church parking lot, and me having to stand in front of cameras and give a statement that through all of this, somehow God is going to be glorified. I don't know how, but He will. He will receive honor and He will receive glory. And it may take a while, but we're going to restore our credibility. Those in our community are going to be able to look to us and recognize that we're not a bunch of double-barreled hypocrites. They're going to look at us and recognize that there's still some men of God that's got a backbone, that's not going to kowtow to the guys that can buy you nice suits and give you big love offerings for preaching at their conference. I don't give a flip about that junk. And we're sick of it. We're sick of the fake humility, the false humility. We're tired of people that are in leadership positions not leading. If you're a leader, lead. Either lead or get out of the way. But stop acting like you're God's gift of fundamentalism when you won't have the guts and the courage to call it what it is. It's cronyism, it's wrong, and we're sick of it. We're all sick of it. I've been an independent Baptist for 46 years. I'm a 5th generation independent Baptist preacher. And if I can't call this mess out, nobody can. I've got just as much a right to speak and say what I want to say for my family and for my church and for the hundreds and hundreds of people that have reached out to me. I've got a right to speak up for them and be a voice for them. And for the victims, God have mercy. Somebody's got to speak up for the victims. I'd rather die and it be on my gravestone that I was a voice and an advocate for the victims before I was some big name preacher somewhere that ain't got enough guts to do what's right. I'm not ranting. I'm not raving. I'm just saying something needs to be said. And so I just want to close out this little video by saying that this ain't the end. It's not over. There's still a lot more that's going to play out. But you guys that you think you're God's gift of fundamentalism, you need to go take a long look in the mirror. A long look in the mirror. Some of you ought to be ashamed of yourself. You stand up in the pulpits and you tell our young people they need to stand up and be a Daniel. Stand up and be a Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But you ain't willing to go through the fire. You're not willing to go through the lion's den. You can't even cancel a meeting. And when you do cancel a meeting for a pedophile, you can't even tell nobody. A whole lot more I could say, but I think I said enough. Until next time, may the Lord bless you.